Katie, Frates, and Hugo Gurdon. We should say here that the Dow, which had been up appreciably earlier in the day, was reversing those gains as these revelations came to light, now gaining again. But Katie, your thoughts on all of this?
Well, this was something else to be dropping on a Friday, I'll just say that. But if you read in the memo, it says, quote, communicated with, as you said, unwitting individuals associated with the Trump campaign, that these Russians went to huge lengths to make sure that these people had no idea that they were Russian and that they were just regular Americans. On top of that, they were organizing rallies for and against Trump and have been here working on this since 2014, long before Trump said he was running for office. There's a lot of revelations in this, but the key to take away here, of course, is that, yes, these Russians were involved in meddling with the election, but that they do not believe that that had any impact on changing the ultimate outcome of the 2016 election, which was that Donald Trump became the president.
You know, Hugo, what was interesting here is when Rosenstein was detailing how the Russians would sow confusion both ways. A protest rally and spur one up against Donald Trump's election, and another one for his election. So obviously to just confuse people, but what do you think of all that?
Well, I think that that's exactly what people have been, the impression that people have been coming to throughout this past year or year and a half, and that is that whichever way the Russians wanted the election to go, and it seems that they wanted President Trump to win, it's also clear that they wanted to sow distrust in the United States with its own electoral system. And if you look at the way that this past year has unfolded, with people trying to suggest that President Trump is not a legitimate president, it clearly worked. The fact that there were two simultaneous rallies in New York City, one for and one against his election, shows that the Russians were completely cynical in undermining the American electoral system. They may have got the result that they wanted, but the biggest result they wanted was confusion and mistrust of the system.
Katie, how can you read from this where the Mueller investigation might be going if it's targeting Russians and those who might have unwittingly worked with the Russians, although not targeted deliberately for doing so? Does that mean anything to you? I'm not reading tea leaves or even remotely good at it, but is this now going to be the sense of the direction of this, that the Russians were undoubtedly involved in our 2016 election? Few doubt that they wanted to certainly, mix it up a bit, and they succeeded that. They didn't alter the outcome, but they certainly tried.
They did certainly try. And of course, Neil, this transcends President Donald Trump. This transcends Hillary Clinton, to a base desire on Russia's part to cause and sow discord in American politics. But I don't, again, as you said, I don't want to read the tea leaves. I don't want to make any predictions on this, but I think it is very telling, certain language that was used today, like the word unwitting, stressing again that any Americans associated with Trump's campaign or otherwise had no idea who these people were. And it's fairly hard to collude with Russians if you have no idea they're Russians.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hugo, another thing I'm thinking of here is that, it's easier said than done to get Russian entities indicted to come here, right? I mean, what happens?
I don't think that, given that this is a campaign that President Putin endorses, the whole information war that he's been waging, not just against the United States, but against many other countries, given that he's backing that and endorsing that, and he's got buildings filled with bots and people making up news, the chances of him allowing the people who work for him to be indicted to the United States to stand trial seems to me extremely slim. But, one of the things that we should think about in terms of, from Robert Mueller's point of view is, his investigation will work toward the center. He's now indicted 13 Russian individuals and 3 Russian organizations. He will see what he can get out of that to move to the next targets. And one of the interesting things, actually, the Washington Examiner has been reporting just today, is that there seem now to be some problems with the Mike Flynn case and some unusual developments there with a new judge. I think that that Robert Mueller actually needed to get some good news and some display of activity going on here, because there's been some questions arising about how solid the case is against Mike Flynn.
All right, and Michael and Paul Manafort, of course, we always forget about where they're going with all of this, and I'm wondering whether this has changed this whole investigation, Katie, because I see things oftentimes through the nerdy prism of the markets, and they tanked on the first hint that there was going to be this announcement, and then you both keenly pointed out the fact that Americans might have been unwittingly involved but not deliberately involved, so this might just involve these Russian entities, and that so far there is nothing sticking to the Trump White House. So that's my quick interpretation. The market's turned around now up 91 points on the belief this is limited. This is not touching the White House, or am I jumping too much here?
I would say maybe we have to wait and see. Again, there's a lot that we don't know. There's things that have not come out yet. And this, of course, is, as Hugo was saying, is the first step. Get those indictments on the Russians. We'll see what we can get from them. We'll see if Russia even cooperates with us getting our hands on these people.
There's no way Russia's going to cooperate. No way.
Right. I mean, right. I don't think Putin's going to be like, yeah, just take these people. Like, clearly not. But we'll have to wait and see after that and see where this leads. But right now, again, like as I said before, the language being used in this is not conducive to a Russia collusion narrative.
Should I read anything, Hugo, finally, and you've been very good, folks, I appreciate it, that Robert Mueller didn't announce any of this, that this was all Rosenstein?
No, I think that there's not to read into that, except that, you know, Robert Mueller is much less accessible, I think, than Rob Rosenstein. You know, they want to keep him in the background. They don't want to have the questions asked to him. So you have some, you know, you have the guy from the Justice Department. I think that probably, you know, Robert Mueller would want to stay in the background, and the administration would want him to stay in the background too.
You know, I lied when I said it was my final question, guys, because I thought of something else. And Katie, if you can indulge me on this, I grant you apples and oranges, but given what appears to be a major FBI screw-up acknowledged by the FBI director himself in this Florida case involving Nicholas Cruz, the shooter at that Florida school, that they had very workable, tangible, exercisable information on a tip that came in, again, just 6 weeks ago, about his violence, his kind of criminal proclivities, violence to animals, social media postings that had gotten increasingly worrisome, all conveyed by someone who knew him well enough to do so and outline all of this. What does that mean for the FBI?
Well, it's, of course, a very bad, no good, awful day for the FBI. But the problem here is, look, we hear it over and over again in the subway, in the airport, when you go out, if you see something, say something. And it doesn't work if when you say something, no one does anything. And my heart breaks for these families that are now playing the what-if game, because maybe if the FBI had acted and followed protocols, things may have been different.
Hugo?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. You know, after the fact, when you have all of the eyes of the media and all of the sort of the FBI and all the security forces looking at what they did, most, you know, to some extent wanting to show that they did the right thing, lots of new facts come out. So the trouble is that after anything like this, there's going to be what ifs. These ones look particularly egregious. There was a lot of signs that this guy should have been, more care should have been taken with him, and, you know, 17 people are dead.
Well, good point.